Hello and welcome to another Portworx demo. My name is Andrew Silliphant and I am a Solutions Manager with Pure Storage focusing on databases. In this demo, we are going to show you how to migrate Postgres databases to a new Postgres cluster in Portworx Data Services. To showcase how this is done, I'm going to deploy a new Postgres data service to an Amazon EKS cluster. To deploy a new data service, all we do is select the Postgres data service, provide a name for it, select a target Kubernetes deployment, select a namespace in that deployment, and any configuration options that may be relevant. For this example, we will only be using a single node. Once all the options have been specified, then the data service can be deployed. Once the data service is showing all of its nodes as green with the running status, it will be available for use. At this point, the data service is ready for us to migrate data to it, but we will need some additional information such as the username and password to access the instance. This can be found by selecting the three ellipses and selecting View Additional Details. Once we have the credentials up, leave the Portworx Data Services portal as it is and navigate to a command line interface. In our first command line interface, we are going to inspect the EKS cluster to see which pods have been deployed. Inspecting the PDS databases namespace, we can see that a pod has been deployed, matching the name given in the PDS portal. Now we need to know the external load balancer address provided to this Postgres deployment. To find this, we simply inspected the services in the same namespace and identify an external IP entry for the load balancer with the same data service naming structure. At this point, we have all of the information we need to migrate data from any Postgres deployment to a Portworx Data Services-based deployment. This works for the majority of deployments, be they other containers, virtual machines, or bare metal systems. The first tool we will use is the psql command line utility. This allows us to interact with Postgres clusters both locally and remote. Using the psql tool, we are going to log into the Postgres Data Services deployment using the external IP from the services output and the credentials provided in the Portworx Data Services portal. Once we have authenticated to the data service, it can be seen that the default PDS database has been created for us. This is the database into which we are going to migrate the database objects into. Logging into the local system using the psql tool, we can see that there are 4 databases. This demo will migrate the contents of database 1 to the Postgres data service in EKS. There are now 2 additional tools that we need to talk about that will be used for the migration: pgdump and pgdumpall. pgdump will export the definitions and content of a specific database into one or more files. pgdumpall exports everything in a Postgres cluster, including global objects such as credentials. To perform a migration with the credentials intact, we first output the global database objects using pgdumpall with the globals only argument. Once this file has been created, it can be edited to remove unnecessary entries. The way in which pgdump is executed can vary, but its simplest use is to redirect the output to a file. Note, the larger the database is, the more space that the file or files will need. Once these files have been created, we can simply have them replayed into the psql command line tool, starting with the global objects, and then finally the database object definitions and content. This is done by simply redirecting the output from the file as a read-in to the psql tool. Reading the pgdump output file into the psql tool with the PDS database specified will load the data definitions and content into that specified database. This includes tables, sequences, indexes, and any other database objects. Upon completing the replay of the files, we can now log into the database and observe the database objects have been migrated. That's it for this demo. Thank you for watching.